point, it's kind of like fashion statement. I'm looking at him and I'm like, this yeah, nice ones.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's board meeting. We're going to start the board meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I see some of our fellow board members out here from other districts. So how about Shelley Weinstein? Would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have nothing to report out of closed session. So I will take a motion and a second for approving tonight's agenda. Motion by Mrs. Humick and a second by Mr. De La Cerda. Thank you. We have two advance requests to address the board, and can we take both these requests after the board members have a chance to discuss the issue? It might make more sense than give you more input after with your 3 minutes. All right. We're going to start this. As you may be aware, the district has been sued for an alleged violation of the California Voting Rights Act. The requested remedies of the lawsuit include the district transitioning away from the at-large election system. The complaint further requests an injunction to halt this November election if the district attempts to carry out the election under the current at-large system. The district has already initiated its transition from an at-large to a by-trustee area elections. However, such transitions will not be in effect in time for this November scheduled elections. The parties are presently preparing and will seek an order from the court to resolve this case, which will include the district holding elections under the by-trustee election system only during even years and in conjunction with state and federal elections. As a result, the district will need to withdraw the order for this year's election and submit a request to consolidate for even year elections commencing with 2016 governing board elections. These two actions will allow the district to complete its transition to by-trustee area elections and consolidate to even year elections, both of which will increase potential voter participation and turnout. Therefore, the district staff has recommended that nullifying Resolution 2014-15, number 53, and withdrawing the board's April 21st order of biennial governing board elections is necessary to meet the needs of the district. The board will now consider the agenda item. Approve Resolution 2015-16, number 13, of the Board of Trustees of the Saugus Union School District, nullifying Resolution 2014-15, number 53, and withdrawing order of biennial governing board elections scheduled to be held Tuesday, November 3rd, 2015, and I would like a motion, please. Motion by Mrs. Humek, is there a second? A second by Mr. De La Cerda. All right, are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing
I'd like to
none.
call forward our attorney, to address any questions. I'm sorry.
I'd like to call forward our attorney and see if we can address just process of nullifying a resolution.
Good evening, board members and community members. All right, the process of nullifying the prior resolution is necessary because, as you know, just before a scheduled election that occurs presently in even odd years, every November, the board has to actually pass a resolution ordering the election. And that's what the board did on April 21st. They passed a resolution ordering an election for this year. As part of the process of resolving the suit, the board and the other side to the suit are in effect going towards having by-trustee area districts in even year elections only. In order to accomplish this goal, what needs to take place is that the board has to pass a resolution essentially nullifying the prior resolution it passed ordering the election for this year. And that is the purpose for this resolution here. That's the way that you take this year's election off calendar in order to allow for the election to go forward next year, which involves a separate process. The board has to pass a resolution and submit that resolution to the county registrar's office, county committee, withdrawing its prior order for the election for this upcoming year.
Can you please define for us what an injunction is and how it applies to something of this type of nature, not necessarily specifically to this, but...
Well, an injunction is essentially a court order that if someone seeks an injunction, they seek a court order preventing an event from occurring. And in this instance, the complaint states as one of the remedies that the plaintiff will seek an injunction preventing the election from going forward for this year, as long as it is under the at-large election system, which the district is still under because it is still in the process of transitioning to by-trustee area districts.
How, in your experience, how successful has this particular plaintiff been in seeking injunctions in your experience thus far in the last couple of years or so?
Well, I will make it broader, and I'll say, to my knowledge, there have been a number of times when, under CVRA suits, that plaintiffs have pursued injunctions and have been successful in stopping elections in these types of matters. Most recently, in the Palmdale case, there was an injunction that was sought a few days before the election took place, and that injunction was granted. So by and large, the evidence supports that these injunctions are often obtained.
And upheld because of the law? The
Yes.
CVRA law?
Yes. Yes, that as the basis of the suit, the way the issue is presented is that if there is a potential issue or problem with the at-large election system and there is an election yet to be had, then it necessarily follows that the district should not be allowed to continue to hold elections in that current at-large system. And it is on that basis that injunctions have been granted against districts once CVRA suits have been filed.
And presumably there's a cost in defending against an injunction?
Sure, there's like anything else, there's anytime you have to litigate further, then there's a cost, as we all know and are aware. the CVRA suits do include recovery of attorney's fees for litigating these types of cases on behalf of the plaintiffs.
Any other questions? Now it's time for public input. The district has previously placed the resolution to nullify Resolution 2014-15, number 53, and withdraw the district's order of biennial governing board election currently scheduled for Tuesday, November 3rd, 2015, on its agenda. The governing board will now hear public comment on the resolution from members of the public who have completed speaker cards. Speakers will be given 3 minutes to make comments on this matter and this matter only. We have received cards from 2 people who wish to address this subject during tonight's board meeting. With our first person, Mr. Jim Solis, please come up to the podium.
Okay.
And you will please state your name. You will have 3 minutes to address the board. And Mrs. Dahl, will you please be our timekeeper for this evening?
Thank you. Hi, my name is Jim Solis. I'm a 34-year resident of Saugus, California. And my sons went through the Saugus Union School District system, and my wife was once a teacher. That's right. She was once a teacher for the district, then retired. I'm not going to go through the history. You've already got it in front of you. Let's face it, this district has known for the last 2 years that Latino activists within the community were making efforts to have government and school districts comply with the California Voter Rights Act of 2002. Mind you, that's 12 years or 14 years ago. 2002, 13 years ago. So you've had 13 years to do this. And it took a suit to get you to do it in a timely fashion. In fact, you were noticed earlier this year, even before April, as to the issue of the California CVRA and its requirements to dismantle the at-large school system, election system for a district-wide system or method of voting. Districts such as, for example, the Sulphur Springs District, the Hart Unified School District, the New Home School District, as well as the Santa Clarita Community College District, have complied without resorting to postponing elections. Why? Because they did it in a timely fashion. They didn't wait until somebody pushed them into it. They did it in a timely fashion. Now, we have the situation where we're faced with what you are about to do. That is to file and demand and cancel elections coming up for November. Well, it seems to me that this cancellation is a very spurious cancellation based upon distortions and miscommunication. The real issue is the procrastination, but I ask myself, why did you fail to do this in a timely fashion when you knew it was coming? They knew. In fact, there are other district board members of other districts that are here tonight to tell you that. They knew. You knew. Well, it seems to me that the kind of procrastinating that we're faced with, the district did this because for several factors. Postponing elections allows the existing board, that's you, to protect your own incumbency while allowing you to also have the
Thank you for
leisure.
your comments. Thank you, sir. That was 3 minutes. Thank you. Our next speaker will be Mr. Steve Hessel. And you will have to do it.
Is this yours, Jim? Is this yours? Yes, members of the board, I speak against the resolution tonight. I'm quite honestly disappointed that you're not willing to stand up and fight this lawsuit. This district has never had polarized elections in this area. We have people with Hispanic names, surnames. I feel uncomfortable even speaking like this. Rose Diaz used to be on this board. We have Gloria Mercado is on board here. We have many people that engage in community activities as well as political activism here in this district. In reading the complaint filed by Mr. Schenkman, he makes several very obvious errors. He talks about this being a politically charged district. He uses the word polarized. He talks about how the reason Stephen Winkler defeated Rose Diaz was that the California Republican Assembly had endorsed Winkler. Well, here's an article back from the Signal that says that the California Republican Assembly endorsed both Rose Diaz and Stephen Winkler. As you might know, some of you may be aware, there's nothing like polarized politics in this town as there is between Republicans. At that time, there were two different CRA groups. There was the Dave Gawney group that refused to endorse anybody, and there was the Bob Howder CRA group that endorsed both Rose Diaz and Stephen Winkler. So I would, in fact, I have here a letter from Stephen Winkler that was printed letter to the editor bemoaning the fact that he did not get the endorsement of the CRA here in Santa Clarita. Yet the complaint filed by the plaintiff's attorney says that the reason Winkler beat Diaz was related to the support that they had from CRA. I believe that the election date in November that you already approved is a sacred contract with the stakeholders of this community. I want you to hold that November election, go forward with it. If his attorney, Mr. Solis and I are friends, so I can speak like this. If Mr. Solis' attorney wants to file for an injunction, then we have competent legal staff that can defend us against this. I don't hear the answer of if you pass this resolution and you go down to and you go to the County Board of Supervisors and ask them to put you on the 16 ballot and they deny you, where does that leave us this year in 15? How much notice do we need to have that November election? There are qualified candidates in this room that are ready to go 2015. I want them to have an opportunity. I think you should grant that to them by denying tonight's resolution. I thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
I just want to make, can you hear me or do I need the mic? I just want to clarify one thing on the timeline, so there is no misunderstanding. On May 5th of 2015, the board agenda, there was a resolution. We did approve the adoption to initiate a transition to a by-trustee election area system commencing with the 2017 governing board election because we knew what the time frame was. We were notified in April 28th of the denial of cumulative voting, correct? So I just want to make sure I have this correct. So we didn't have time between April 28th and May 5th. We were not served a lawsuit until May 22nd. By then, it had already gone public that we had every intention of following the district mandated to prevent any more loss of funding as well. So on May 22nd, we received personal delivery of the complaint for the violation of the California Voting Rights Act from plaintiff Mr. Solis. That was after this board had already taken action. So I guess one would have to draw their own opinion on whether or not we truly needed to be sued since we had already put the wheels in motion to correct the CVRA issue.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. So just, that's okay, that's fine. But just to reiterate that and to also say that the board did move to indicate its intent to move to cumulative voting back in January. And so I think it's a mischaracterization to say the board has done nothing. There have been actions that have gone on over quite a period of time over the past year, just to reiterate what Mrs. Eubank said.
I'd like to ask Milton if you could maybe step to the podium. I had a quick question for you. How many school districts or other public entities that have been sued have been successful in fighting a CVRA lawsuit?
None. There has been no success stories of anyone successfully defeating any type of CDRA lawsuit. I think it's public information that any of the districts or public entities that have been sued that have prolonged the process is simply resulting in them making the change to by-trustee area district along with a hefty price tag and paying for fees and other expert costs, and that's public information that is kind of well known. So there have been no instances of successfully defeating any sort of CVRA suit.
And there was a settlement in the COC lawsuit?
Yes,
Do you
yes.
know how much the settlement was?
I believe it's public information that the amount of that settlement was, I think, upwards of $800,000 in terms of costs.
And there was also a settlement in the Sulphur Springs case as well?
Yes, there was settlement in pretty much all the cases, and you know, the costs have, the settlement ranges have ranged from, you know, $150,000 up to millions of dollars in other cases, including the Palmdale case, which is the only case that was litigated to conclusion. I think the ultimate fees came to somewhere around $4 to $5 million.
What, just in general, what would an injunction cost the district to defend?
Well, it's tough to calculate how much the cost is, but what's clear is that the district obviously has to pay for its own legal counsel, and then, again, once again, CVRA allows opposing parties the right to have reasonable attorney's fees. So every step in the litigation, everything that is litigated is potentially a fee that comes back to the district to pay in terms of trying to decide to sell the case.
Any other questions, concerns?
Just to comment on, in regards to us indeed not being polarized, and his accusation of being polarized in our voting, you know, is one that is just not true. I agree with Mr. Tressel in that statement. I think that we've done a collective effort over the years to encourage people to run for office. In fact, in this boardroom, many years, we've held candidate forums where we
One
would.
of the only districts that ever has held.
When was the last one though? Has it been in the last
Yes, it
So-
was.
So I was involved in that forum. In fact, it was the forum, it was,
You know what, I'm not the one.
if I would like to speak, you all are perfectly welcome to fill out a card. It was the forum that was held in this room that encouraged me to run for office. And it was the teachers union, that Sox Teachers Association that assisted with that.
So it's like forum versus workshop.
Forum.
No workshop.
It was a workshop, right? A workshop.
Workshop, I'm looking at my other colleagues out there too.
We did.
Your forum, I think what you're talking about though is the trustees
The
workshop.
trustees workshop.
Right, and I think that came up the other night too, was a confusion of words.
Right.
Is that over the past almost 20 years, because it's instituted by Joe McGregor, was a Santa Cruz Valley trustees group, which several of us seem to belong to, started conducting workshops, and that was to educate people that may be interested in running for any of the boards, and that was COC, HART, and all the elementary boards as well. The last one we held was about 4 years ago, and we stopped because there were more school board members here and district staff than there were candidates. I think there were 2 people interested in running, and neither one of those chose to run. But up until then, it happened about every 2 years.
The reality is that our community is faced with tremendous voter apathy. And that's really the issue at hand. And it is the organizations that are in our community that need to, come together to help that, to help more people be more interested in the political process and being active in their communities, of all ages, of all nationalities, of all ethnicities, getting involved in their communities. If you look at the activities in our parent-teacher associations, they are tremendously diverse. And that's a great thing that we encourage and advocate for in our school districts. But when we look at elected positions, it's not been the case. So when I ran for office, I was just turning 29 years old, and there are not many under 30-year-olds that run for office. I think that has to do with our community being more proactive in encouraging young people to run and being more open to mentoring youth to get involved and active. And it's not to say that age matters. It doesn't. It matters about your passion and your heart for why you're doing the job, and that's why I believe we choose to take time away from our families to do this job. That's why I do this job. That's why I love my wife to death for allowing me to spend this time in my community where I grew up and went to public school, and now I can give back. Not as a Latino, not as a man or a woman, as a person who grew up in Santa Cruz Valley, who wants to give back to children and the families of the valley. Hopefully there will be more work and effort to solve this solution in our valley by getting more people to run for office and interested in taking part in the public process. I don't think suing, I think if we could take all this money collectively that's been spent over these lawsuits, Mr. Solis, and put a better campaign together to get voter turnout, would be more money spent than paying and putting money in the pockets of the attorneys that are walking away with millions of dollars.
We have 2 more cards for comments. The first one is from Stacy Fortner. If you will please come to the podium.
Hi, I'm Stacy Fortner, and I just have a couple of questions, and I don't know if the attorney wants to address it or if you guys want to address it as a board. But my first question is, how many of these requests have been approved by the county SUPs? If it is denied, will you be moving forward with the November election? And if it is rejected, what comes next?
I was just going to suggest, I think that is a subject for the next resolution. I think this resolution just has to deal with the November election.
This doesn't count against my 3 minutes.
You're so funny, Stacy.
The second resolution tonight, which is the request for moving the election to even years for November 2016, I think is a better resolution to answer that question.
I don't understand a word you just said.
I'm just saying, the resolution that's on the table right now only deals with canceling the election. The issue that you raised is the issue having to do with getting approval of the November 2016 election, which is the next resolution that we'll consider.
And we can address that
Tonight?
question when we get to that item.
Or, okay, so,
10 minutes.
yeah, I get it. So, my first question. How many have been approved?
We can ask the question of our attorney. If that's your question to us, then we can ask that back. So,
Okay, I'd like to reserve the rest of my time.
attorney works for us first, so we'll ask the question if you want to engage our attorney. So we should wait till this item comes up, then we have discussion about it. I'm
Still
curious
reserving
to
more
the
time.
question too, I think it should be.
I don't think there's-
Definitely answer the question.
Otherwise, we're just wasting money.
Well, since they are so intertwined, I think it's okay to respond at this point, and then we can respond again when we talk about the second resolution. But it's a good question in terms of, 2 years ago, the district did ask for a consolidation of even-year elections, and that request was denied by the county supervisors. It's a different environment now, and I'll tell you why. And on March 24th, the Board of Supervisors instructed the county registrar to put together new recommendations for approving consolidation in even-year elections. And the county registrar on May 26th actually issued a memo with recommendations to the supervisors that all future requests would be considered on a case-by-case basis. And in that case-by-case basis, what they will do is they'll use what they call a data-driven methodology. And that they will take the characteristics and the criteria of each district into account in making a case-by-case decision. And actually in the memo, in the recommendation section, Dean Logan, who is the county registrar, listed some of the circumstances that they would take into account when they look at consolidation requests. And some of the circumstances he actually mentions in the memo are, for example, if the request is part of a CVRA judgment or settlement, if the consolidation occurs with adjacent districts or jurisdictions, and if there is a projection of increased voter participation. So those are the three new criteria that Dean Logan said that they're going to look at as they go through this case-by-case analysis. So given that memo, given those new recommendations, it looks like it's a different environment for the county soups in terms of looking at these consolidation requests.
So when I called the county today, they told me that they weren't allowing any more.
We actually have the memo. May
What's the
26th
date?
May 26, 2015.
Okay, today is July 7th. I spoke to them this morning.
Well, I don't know if Milton has any further information for that, but that's the memo we have from May 26th.
Obviously, I don't know who you spoke to, but I spoke to, on behalf of the district, I spoke to the county registrar's office, and they confirmed the memo, and they actually confirmed that their policy is now shifting. That 3 years ago, when the district initially applied, they had internally a mandate that stems back to, I want to say, 1980 or 1981, that required a flat denial of all requests to even-year elections, which is what happened 3 years ago. There was a flat denial that if they couldn't allow everyone to consolidate to even-year elections, then they would allow no one. Recently, there has been a shift due to a number of factors, which include CVRA suits, which include districts trying to increase voter turnout and use that as a method to do so. And so, more recently, past few months, and you've seen the shift and the change with the approval of the request by the city of Santa Clarita, where they granted their request to consolidate to even-year elections. And they've done that because of that policy shift of considering on a case-by-case basis. There was a denial for the community college district, but that was because I spoke directly with the county registrar's office, because it was coupled with going to cumulative voting. Given that the district has already initiated the process to buy trustee area districts and is not coupling their consolidation to cumulative voting, then every indication is from the county that the district likely stands to have their resolution passed, just as the city of Santa Clarita did. So that's the most recent up-to-date information we received when the district contacted and spoke with the county registrar's office, in addition to the memo reflecting that fact. And actually, the county has the county registrar, the administrative team has recommended to the Board of Supervisors a permanent shift in their policy to allow districts to be able to consolidate to even-year elections. As David said, when you have CVRA settlements, judgments to increase voter turnout, all of which are at play here for Saucus. So every indication at this point, at this juncture, is that such a request, if adopted and approved by the board, would likely, is high likelihood it will be approved, as evidenced by the fact that one was recently approved by the city of Santa Cruz.
I had 2 more questions. I will not answer. Well, I just had 2 more questions that weren't answered. What happens if it's rejected? And then what happens if it's approved?
All right. In terms of what happens if it's rejected, there's no easy answer for that. At this point, it's up in the air. Every indication is that they will grant the request, and that is what the district is proceeding for, based off of direct communications with the county registrar's office. In the unlikely event that it is not, then the district will have to address it at that time. In terms of what happens if it is approved, what that means is that beginning in November 2016 and going forward, and on even years, that is when the board would be holding its elections. Beginning in 2016 and then 2018 and so on and so forth, so that now all the elections for the board members would occur on even year elections rather than, or even years rather than odd years, in consolidation with the state and federal elections.
So that means that the appointed positions would get a 1-year extension, and then the ones that were expiring in 2016 go out to 2017? Or 2018, I mean?
Yes.
Everybody gets a year bump.
Yes, that's correct. And that is per statute. That is the way any type of request for consolidation goes. Anytime you submit a request to consolidate the even year elections, by the statute itself, it says it requires that the city board members get a bump, because that is the only way functionally you could accomplish the goal.
Okay, and then are there any contracts that are up for renewal during that time period?
I'm not sure what.
Of cabinet members?
Any contract, I'm not sure what you're saying.
Yes, cabinet.
Oh, cabinet. Oh, that doesn't, consolidation to even year elections doesn't have any play on.
It does. It absolutely does. It absolutely does. That means that this board selects the next cabinet.
That's right.
Well,
That's right. That's right.
That's why they're canceling the election.
That's right. That's why they postponed it, so that they would have a chance to appoint.
Okay, I
for the
think
next
we
year and
need
a
to
half.
reiterate
We're following the law.
yeah.
that this is a result of the lawsuit, and this is a cure to the injunction. And I think those 2 pieces have to be made very clear, hopefully very accurate. This is not something that we have initiated. In our perfect world, we would love to hold an at-large election in November of 2015. We would like to do that. We have board members that are very willing and ready to do that. Our maps will not be drawn by them, so we cannot do that because of the injunction. We did not initiate the injunction.
Sorry. Was there a threat of injunction? Was there an actual threat of injunction sent?
Well, stated right there in the complaint, in the remedies of the complaint, it states that the district is going to be, the plaintiff is going to be requesting that it go away from the at-large election system, and that there will be seeking an injunction from the court to stop this year's election.
But I mean, there hasn't been a threat in like the last
No, that
3
is,
weeks.
well, that is the,
Because the plaintiff is
If
here
it's
saying
at
there's
large,
no.
if it's at large, our complaint is based upon the notion of filing for the CVRA, which requires district elections.
Okay, first of
So if
all,
it's at large, of course we're going to be opposed to it. We favor district elections, that's very clear.
Mr. Solis,
And
I
you're
can't,
confabulating it for the sake of
Mr.
whatever.
Solis, I can't communicate with you because you are a represented party in the suit. You are represented by counsel. So the way these communications work is I communicate with your counsel. I can't communicate with you back and forth.
Well, you did earlier, and he explained to you what we were doing.
So I think that's anything else?
Can you just reiterate that point again about the complaint and the injunction?
Yeah, and stated in the complaint itself is a request that the plaintiffs are seeking an injunction to stop this year's election in the
Because
current
it's
system.
at large. Not
that.
district,
I believe
not district.
that there is a timeline that we have to follow a process for the district maps.
You get more than 3 minutes, why shouldn't we?
I'm just
So,
going to finish my comment. The district maps, there's a timeline that it takes. There's community meetings, and I think our other colleagues here can verify that. There's a timeline of community meetings that have to be set in place. That would not be able to take place before the July 13th deadline for starting to register for a November election.
I don't think Newhall had a problem getting their timelines in place.
No, for that
Newhall
matter,
actually
did hard.
received an
No, for
extension,
that matter, did
and Newhall did start a process beforehand. We also started a process before we received suit papers.
We have another.
any more questions for the board for me?
No, not at this time, sir.
Yeah.
Oh,
Got
Maybe on the
one
next resolution.
more speaker.
Thank you, trustees and cabinet. It's sad to see lawsuits taking funds from our general, it's sad to see the lawsuits here taking funds from our general fund account, the exact funds that should be used to educate our students district-wide. STA has always worked with all of the elected officials to represent all 15 of our schools, not a subgroup. It's a really sad time to see that we're now spending funds to deal with legal issues and not our classrooms. We have so many pressing issues. I'm sorry to see that you're doing this. This is my time. Number one, I have a question for you. What did the experts say about the potential injunction being denied and then the 2015 election being required? The reason I ask is because I'm concerned about the funds that continue to be sent towards legal fees. Those are funds that belong to our children, not to lawyers and not to people who want to sue the district. That's not the way to resolve the problem. And number two, if in fact there is no approval of the county at the county level, what would then the sequence of events be so that those people that are in the audience that would like to run for your positions can start thinking about it and maybe be part of the solution and not the problem? We have got to stop the legal fees. Saugus has worked diligently to educate all of our students. You have never, because we will put your feet to the fire, people, and that's not even on my script, have never spoken on behalf of one school. We don't allow it. We have 10,000 students and we expect you to represent all of them. This districting that we're proposing to do is not something that is necessary in our district. We understand it's the law, you must comply. Please, I urge you to think about what you need to do so you don't spend our money on legal fees. That money belongs to our children, and our community expects you to put that money in the classrooms, not in the lawyers' pockets. I'm sorry, council. Thank you.
Agreed.
This is a resolution. Rebecca, if you will do the honors.
Mr. De La Cerda,
Aye.
Mr. Trunky,
Aye.
Dr. Powell,
Aye.
Mrs. Koscielny,
Aye.
and stop the hemorrhage, I vote aye. 5 ayes, no noes, no abstentions, and the resolution passes.
The district has just adopted the resolution withdrawing its prior order of election submitted to the county registrar. The district will now turn to the second resolution on the agenda for tonight, to authorize submission of a request to the Board of Supervisors to consolidate to even-year elections. Election Code Section 1302B establishes a procedure whereby the board may change the election date for its board members by adopting a resolution seeking approval of the change by the County Board of Supervisors pursuant to Election Code Section 10404.5. If approved, this resolution would involve the district submitting a request to the Board of Supervisors for approval to consolidate to even years commencing in 2016. If the resolution is passed pursuant to the election code, the terms of the governing board members would need to be extended for a year to allow for the consolidation process. However, this is not the purpose of the district's action. As previously discussed, this action is being taken as part of the resolution to the civil action pending against the district, and will also increase voter turnout and participation. The board will now consider the approval of resolution 2015-16, number 14, a resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Saugus Union School District approving the rescheduling of the governing board members' election from odd to even year elections, commencing with the 2016 governing board election rationale. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Trunke, a second? Second by Dr. Powell. Any no questions or concerns? All those in favor say aye. Oh, it's the resolution. Yeah, you did this.
I guess I'll just start. Speak to a couple of issues. One issue is the move to even year elections and the impact on voter turnout. Just to throw a few numbers at you, in the 2013 board elections, voter turnout was 6.6%. 6.6%. That translated into 3,872 voters out of 59,000 who were registered. If you look at the 2012 general election in LA County, voter turnout was 51%. So if you can extrapolate those figures, and if we have an election in November 2016, in the general election, voter turnout increases by that amount, you're looking at an additional 26,000 voters voting in the election. So I think obviously with even year elections, that increase in voter turnout is certainly something that we should endorse. I think it's a good thing for our district. And anything that increases voter turnout from 6.6%, I think, is certainly a move in the right direction.
Yeah, and because also these positions as well are nonpartisan as well, I think it's very important to note that that this is encouraged, that our stance not get also hopefully entwined with the partisan elections that happen normally through general election. That's the hope. The hope is that it doesn't matter whether the CRA or the DNC or whoever endorses who for what. What matters most is who is most qualified, who the voter understands is going to represent their children in the decisions that are being made for their education purposes. That is a hope, and I hope that does continue to happen if this is approved. If the supervisors do approve this request, which we did, again, requested this years ago collectively as a valley, and during tough times in a recession and a lot of challenges at the time, and pressures to the clerk's office said no to the board of supervisors. The board of supervisors said, well, we're going to go with them on that one, and we were denied. For the same reason, and Dr. Powell and Mr. Trunke were not on the board at that time, but the other three of us were. The same reason he said that then was the same exact reason why we thought that was a good idea then for voter turnout, because it was, it is a disgrace to know that many people only turn out to vote for what I believe is the most important thing that we have in our future as our children, to not be interested in who's representing them up on these boards, and that's a sad thing. So hoping that the Board of Supervisors does hear our second request this time, and we can hope for more people being engaged in the political process.
And I would add to that the resolution from 2013 contained the exact same extension of term as Milton said it's required by statute. I want everybody to know how, and I'm saying this personally, how serious I take this issue. Obviously, in anything that affects elections is extremely serious. I think that we're required to do what's in the best interest of the district and what's in the best interest of our students. And I think the actions that we're taking tonight from many perspectives are in those best interests for the students to protect as much funding for the classroom and to accomplish things that we think are going to affect the district in elections going forward if we were in trustee areas in odd years. I think that's all I have to say.
Yeah, and obviously I would agree with you, Mr. Drunky, and you know, when I was appointed to this position less than a year ago, I almost came to this position begrudgingly. I was, my arm twisted a little bit for it, and believe me, serving on the board another year is not my motivation at all. My motivation is to help the kids. And it sounds corny, but that's what I said when I came on the board, is everything a decision I'm going to ask one question: how does it help our kids? And as we had talked about before, you know, if this does not happen, if we don't have a settlement, if the lawsuit continues, money goes in the pockets of attorneys, sorry about that, but it doesn't go where it belongs. You know, and the resources belong in the classroom. They belong with our kids and with our teachers. And so supporting this resolution, in my opinion, is doing what's right for the kids. And believe me, it has nothing to do with me serving another year on this board. I guarantee you that.
With that said, my decision is based too on the confidence of the appointed board members that we did appoint to serve. We appointed for a short term so that then the electoral process could take place. And for us, we made our best judgment calls on what we need to do rather than having a special election that was going to cost the district thousands of dollars at that time when we decided to appoint and not to hold a special election for those vacant seats. So again, my confidence is that our appointed board members are going to continue to work with us as a whole. We've got a lot of work ahead of us, and we promise certainly to continue to make certain that we're making strides in the positive direction together collectively. Whether it is electing, hiring individuals or not, as a person pointed out, that's a process that's going to be shared amongst the entire community. It's not one that the board takes lightly and only decides solely without input. And if we get to the decision to where we have to hire key positions in the cabinet, for instance, you better believe that we're going to be asking you, the community, you all out there and others, to be involved and engaged in that process. We take that very seriously, and we'll conduct a process for that if it does come, whatever position it may be.
I think, the other piece, that if we were to be honest with each other, we would say, this is not the right answer. Ms. Rocha communicated that. Hindsight, and Stacy, you're right, hindsight would have been looking at things differently. Our colleagues over there had other things in mind. Once again, hindsight would have been looking at things differently. This was absolutely new to us. We don't necessarily feel, are we doing this to protect this district? Yeah, we are. Personally, and people who know me know I have a very culturally blended family. And I don't know if this is the right thing for Saugus because of our numbers and because of our layout. My own daughter, 35 years old, said, Mom, we vote for one person. That kind of takes away their voice, and they have the next generation in schools. So I'm not sure if it's the right move for us.
It's the law.
But you're right, it is a law. And that's why we're going to respect the law. We're doing it the best way we can. We're trying to involve the community, which is why we now need to take a look at maps, and we need to do it right. And pardon my language, not half-assed. And nobody else did. I'm not accusing anybody of doing it. My colleagues out there worked very hard. We've learned a lot from them. We have all gotten together. We did try very hard to look at it. We all came up with other solutions. We were turned down, but we had to try. If we hadn't tried the other solutions, we would have been criticized for that too. there absolutely were other things we can do. I don't feel dividing this school district up into 5 districts is going to bring about a larger voice. But because it's the law and we will do it for our kids. And the promise they've all made, and we've made to our teachers, and we've made to our parents, we will continue, and with the help of our cabinet that have already made suggestions on how we can make sure that we're available to the entire district, even though we're only elected by 1/5, we will be out there in all the schools, in all the communities, as an entire board and an entire cabinet. So, in spite of the law, SAGAS will attempt to function the way SAGAS has always functioned, which is a community and as a group. So, thank you.
I think if you knew more about us, because I love going home and playing with my 2 Hispanic grandchildren. You know, and I'm sure that Mrs. Hewitt also enjoys her grandchildren too.
I don't have Hispanic grandchildren. Yeah. But I do have 2 Caucasian stepsons. And 2 Hispanic Latino girls as well. So I have a family too. And that's our community. That's what we love about it. We're so diverse. And Dr. Lucid and in our cabinet, our teachers and our staff, they see it more often than we do because we have our day jobs. But you're out there day to day and you see the blendedness of this community is incredible. It'll just continue. There's no doubt people want to live here, and all people should have an opportunity to live in Santa Cruz Valley, regardless of socioeconomic status or ethnicity. That's what's great about Santa Cruz.
Okay, we have one more speaker, Steve Pessel. And Ted rules apply, 3 minutes.
You can have my remaining time.
Well, obviously, I'm disappointed in your last decision. I really don't understand why you couldn't perhaps do a dual track. I can't believe that an injunction would take that much money, that you could have continued with an at-large election and had an injunction filed. You go before the judge, make your case for why you want to have an election in 2015, because you already adopted a resolution. That was a promise to us as the stakeholders. At this point, we have our plaintiff here, and he seems to be, well, I'm not going to put words in his mouth. Because I hear a lot of different things come out of his mouth. But anyway, I like your point. I don't understand how this is going to meet the goal of increasing Latino participation or having them elected. The bottom line is you might have more people go to the poll. I don't know how many of those people are going to be more educated about the issues that are confronting the school district. A lot of information is going to be lost in the static of the larger top-of-the-line elections, whether that's Congress, Assembly, state senators, presidents. And then at the bottom of the line, at the bottom is going to be, you know, the Saugus Unified School District, the CLC School District. We are being balkanized by these lawsuits. We are being divided. The motto of this nation is E pluribus unum, from the many one, and we are being multi-ethnized to death. So nobody's going to know who their COC rep is, who is their, most people, you know, we're going to have to figure out who's our city councilman. You know, we can't, maybe 10% of the people can tell you who their state senator is in this town. But it's going to make it very expensive for candidates to run. Your mailbox is going to be filled with mailers. Nobody's going to be concentrating on these elections. So nobody really asked, is it going to work? And I think that's the critical question that perhaps the plaintiff and his attorney might have asked, and perhaps given us examples of where it worked. I haven't heard a single policy difference that a Latina or a Latino, whatever Latins, would have had that would make a substantial difference from what perhaps the rest of the board had done. So I probably will make the run down to County Board of Supervisors when you get scheduled, and I'm going to speak against you rescheduling your elections for even years. And I wish that you would have gone with an at-large this year and waiting to see if
We tried.
okay.
But you have mine. You have 10.
No, that's okay.
There isn't any left. Okay. Now, we're calling for the question to approve resolution 2015-16, number 14. It's a resolution, so we roll call vote.
Dale Serta.
See,
Dr. Powell. Mrs. Shelley.
Aye.
5 ayes, no noes. No abstention, and the resolution passes.
Thank you for your participation tonight, and we are going to be going to closed session. Thank you for coming.
I had a non-agenda card file. I had a request for a non-agenda item.
Oh, I did not. You spoke.
On your,
Right, but on the first card, I also
Yeah,
filed
that-
two
Oh, there
areas.
was more than one?
yeah, the one about SCV TV?
Right.
Oh, all right, it's, okay. Next time, put one in each one so we know, or put a 1 and a 2 or something. Please come up, have your 3 minutes.
Hopefully, I'm not going to take 3 minutes. I've taken an interest in a number of issues here in Santa Clarita. One of them involves the Joint Powers Authority that gives funds to SCV TV, which is Channel 20 and Channel 99 on the local cable access channels. Back on June 25th, I went to the Joint Powers Authority meeting. I believe that Dr. Lucid was appointed the president. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Okay. She was nominated by Ken Strickland. But I'm concerned in that area that only the city is making contribution to SCV TV. In the performance contract that was given to Leon Warden, it says that he's supposed to make available broadcasts of the school board meetings, the COC, Sulphur Springs, et cetera, send somebody out and put that on. Yet I don't see any other entity, no school district is contributing to that. I think that if SCV TV is going to be viable, because really right now it's not even economically viable. Leon and his Fred Trueblood spoke to that you should consider making a contribution to that. I was also concerned in the contract that political speech is limited under the contract terms. I don't like seeing governmental bodies, whether it's the city of Santa Clarita, the state of California, limiting political speech. And not only did it limit political speech on channels 20 and 99, but it also extends to Leon's websites, his scvtv.com website, which I felt was really an infringement upon him. He's not supposed to accept political advertising. So when our next candidates want to run and they want to do a banner ad on SCVTV, according to the contract as I read it, Leon is not supposed to accept that either on channel 20, 99, or on his other websites. So I wanted to bring that to your attention for your consideration. I think that you should make a contribution to make SCVTV viable and eliminate the political speech restrictions in the contract.
Thank you for your comment. So I motion and a second to move to closed session? Motion by Dr. Powell and a second,
Second.
second by Mr. Trump. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're off to closed session.
Oh, yeah, this is.
I think we proved your face was necessary. Well, like I said before, I really don't know something out of their life. Okay, I just want to say another person.